I did all of that, right? Posted a video yesterday talking about, the Spain France game. And, how I'm really excited for it. And I could see it becoming a high scoring affair, right? And, I ended up picking France winning 3-2. I got one part of that right. And that was Spain scoring 2 goals. The part I got wrong was that France didn't score any. Zero. I think this game in particular, will have a ton of media coverage, right? It'll have a ton of people like myself, people who are, higher up the food chain than me, talking about this game and what this means going forward, right? Because this is kind of at an France, football and France soccer is now at an impasse, right? As you have Didier Deschamps leaving, it's probably going to be Zinedine Zidane coming in as the coach, but this was the last run that he would have, right? And I picked, France to win this game because, number one, they've just been looking much better than Spain has in the games that they've played. And then also, France is a better team. I still believe that. I think France has much more talent than Spain. And and this isn't like this isn't slander to Spain. I just think that when you look at this attacking group for France, oh my goodness. We're like, there is so much talent there. There is so much talent there. And when you compare that to the defensive personnel that Spain has in place, I thought that would be a problem, right? I had mentioned that, Pau Kubarsi is susceptible to the dumb play, right? There were no dumb plays necessarily from Spain. There wasn't anything. I mean, when you look at, how this game went early on, right? You had a penalty for Spain, right? And because I think this part will get a little bit like under talked about. I think that is, Lamine Yamal was a good player today, right? He was legitimately good. In my opinion, he'd be the best player if he were to play for France. Like, just how he played today was better than any French player out there. Because number one, he was putting pressure, right? He was stretching the field, drawing the double teams, which we know he does, but also the fact that, if I would hate him if I was a French fan, right? I'd be absolutely tired of him because he was such a pest. Where the penalty that was drawn was not because of like a tough challenge. It wasn't because of, somebody having to take down Yamal so he doesn't get a one-on-one against the goalkeeper or anything like that. It wasn't like that. Literally what it was you had the French defender, head the ball to try to clear it. It didn't go well, right? He didn't clear it as well as he wanted to. So what did he do? Turned around to go, just kick it out of play, right? And you have Yamal flying in out of the viewpoint of the French defender, and Yamal just takes a kick right to the thigh, right to the leg there. And, that allows for the penalty to be given because it was a penalty and it was just barely inside the box. But I think that was a testament to the dogness of Spain, where they are just hungry, right? They are flying, right? This big motto that hungry dog runs the fastest, right? And this team ran the fastest. This team was a much better pressing team. This team was much better on the ball. This team was just overall in every facet of the game better than France. Like, I can't really put blame on, like, I can't really say, oh yeah, this French player, he was, so much better than, you know, their counterpart. Like, it would be the example of me saying, oh well, Chouameni was so much better than Rodri. No, like it's not, true. Every single player on this French team underperformed, in my opinion. Right? I talked a ton about Kylian Mbappé and how he has some of the most knockout goals, in World Cup history. How, in my opinion, he's the best, one of the best international players ever, and the best World Cup player ever. You know, he didn't play that great. Yes, I understand that, it was tough, right? Spain's defense is no joke, but you were going to have to face them eventually. And it can't be that, 3 times now, you really, outside of that fluky moment where, you were down 4-0 and you ended up losing that game 5-4, outside of that, Spain has really dog walked you, and even in that game, they still beat you. Like, all things considered, Spain is better than France. Like, I think that's crazy because I feel as though that, France has so much more talent. I think that they overall, at each position, they're better, right? If you think about this attacking group here, right? Only one player on Spain, I think, is a better individual player than the French counterpart, right? But I think what made them so great is that they were so much better passing the ball, with each other and as a collective than France was, that it wasn't even funny. And the best player for France had to sub off at half, right? That being Rabiot, because he picked up kind of a stupid yellow, right? Like that is remarkable that you're able to take off the other team's best player, right? And you have Kone who subs on. Yeah, he was pretty cool, I guess. You had an injury where in the back that Saliba gets hurt. That sucks. That is unfortunate, but that type of thing happens. You know, I think the only player who really like balled out for France was like, I felt as though you know Dean and Kunde as the right and left back. I think they both played okay with it. I mean, I don't think that they were, a problem. I think that they were serviceable, perfectly fine. But what made this game, in my opinion, what made me feel as though France was going to win this game was the speed, right? I'd get counterattacking going for France. Where you'd have Mbappe running out there, Dembele running out there, Barcola running out there, Doué running out there. And they subbed on Doué for Barcola, and he wasn't that great, or Barcola wasn't that great. Doué was better, but I mean, nothing to write home about. But this France team underperformed. I mean, it seemed to me as though they could not handle the French press, or France could not handle the Spanish press, and the French could not press the Spanish. I mean, I talked about, in the other video, that, like, you cannot press Spain. Like, it's just impossible. This team is so, so great at the tiki-taka type of stuff where it's like, okay, we're just going to build up, triangles and we're just going to cook you there. Like, they're so incredible at that. And you have the constant movement all around that makes, your opponent have to move with you. And at that moment, you open up holes, the run through and all that stuff. But, even in this game where it's like France was more accurate, or Spain was more accurate with their passes, they had way more passes there. And they were just better at everything, I mean, they're perfectly fine just setting back and letting France get touches with the ball. In the boxes, France had over 20 of them. They had 20 touches in the opposition box, and they didn't do anything with them. Because they had a total of 3 shots on target, and only one of them was like that's actually a great save. The rest of them were like, okay, that is a routine save where it's right in your hands. Because France, quite frankly, was, I don't want to say overmatched physicality wise, but I do think that they were able to get pushed around a little bit, right? Spain was physical. They were bumping, they were doing all of that stuff, and I think that kind of mentality is summed up in Marc Cucurella. I know that he's not the best player in this game, but I think he is the most underrated player in this game. He made such a big difference, right? He was able to neutralize whoever he was matched up against, right? And one time he was on Kylian Mbappé. Mbappé did diddly squat with the ball, right? A lot of time he'd be on Dembele. He would cook Dembele if that's the case. He was so good on an isolation, on just one-on-one defending, to where it almost made it to where you could not go to the side that Cucurella's on. He was phenomenal in this. He was probably one of the biggest game changers here, because I don't know what else you could have done with that. Like, I can't think of a way, we're just going to try to overload the left side. Okay, that didn't really work at all, and they never even really tried it again because Cucurella had it locked down. I mean, the only comparison that I can really give it to is just getting locked inside of a box, getting locked inside of a safe, getting locked inside of another safe on top of that, and going into, like, the Fortress of Solitude or something. Like, there was nothing at all that you could do against Cucurella. I mean, he was insane, right? And I think that kind of dog mentality stems from him, and also stems from Pedro Porro. He was fantastic, right? He was absolutely locking down the wings, right? Doué and Barcola combined, in my personal opinion, to like one decent play, and even then, Porro comes in clutch, right? And one play in particular that I want to talk about, not about Porro but about Cucurella, was late in the game. Mbappe has it in the center spot of the box, right near the penalty spot. Cucurella gives Mbappe a bit of a nudge, nothing anywhere near a penalty, right? Just enough to get him off of his spot. There, Mbappe goes for a kick, right, because he's going to, try to kick the ball into the goal. Cucurella is able to stick a foot out and just knock it out, right? All of that. Because in my opinion, that would have been a goal. Full stop. And he's able to really save the game, right? On a set piece, he is kind of neutralizing the central area of it. I mean, he was just phenomenal in this game. Both of those two you know, left and right backs. They were phenomenal, right? And the central defenders were good as well, as they were able to kind of just prevent runs into the box and make everything like hard fought. Like it didn't seem like France was really able to get anything with ease. It's that they had to, try as difficult as they could. And the one thing that the commentators were talking about is that France looked like a normal team. This looked like an instance where you'd have Barcelona playing against like Mallorca or something, where you'd have a team that is so much better, just kind of like just get this over with type of thing. Like it seemed as though France was just put out of their misery with that second goal by Poro, right? It seemed as though it was never in question almost, which is staggering to think about because of just how dominant this French team was. And I think that my viewpoint going into this game was that the winner of this will win the World Cup. I am 1,000% more reinforcing that opinion because absolutely I still believe that to be the case. Watching this game and looking at how dominant France has been, and you see Spain doing this. Argentina, England, you both are probably pretty tired. I'm gonna make a video about them, before tomorrow's game. But I'm not jealous at all of having to play against Spain. I do not envy that task whatsoever because this Spanish team, with the performance that they just put on, legendary, right? And I think a lot of that goes, a lot of that credit goes to Luis de la Fuente, right? I think he was a better coach than Didier Deschamps today, in my personal opinion, right? I think Deschamps used up his substitutions way too quickly. De La Fuente saved his, right? I mean, you look at the times when players came on, and I get some of that is due to the injuries that or the injury that France suffered, right? Yeah, it sucks. You have to sub somebody out and one of your better players out in the 30th minute, right? But you then don't immediately have to go 46th and 57th minute to where now you only have two subs left, right? And then you make a double substitution for Hernandez and Cherky, right? You're out of substitutions by the 72nd minute. We still have 20 minutes left to play. France used all of their substitutions before Spain had used one. I mean, Spain, quite frankly, at every single level of this game dominated. The only instance where I felt like, oh, France could really do it was whenever Unai Simon comes flying out to, challenge a header or whatever. Bounces down, and then that is where I believe Barcola. It was either Barcola or Doué. And, on that instance, I have seen my team concede a goal from that type of thing, right? Although then again, that was more so because the goalkeeper was an idiot. But it's a wide open net. All you have to do is get it in there, right? Literally all you have to do is get the ball on target and it's going in more likely than not. And he literally, I'm not even trolling, right? From about, I'd say 40 yards out, right? So it's a bit tough to, keep it low enough and get it on target and everything. He goes for the four-dimensional chess move of let's just hit Simone in the gut. We're not going for the goal. We're going for the goalkeeper. We want to take him out. And that shot was when I really knew, oh, it's over. Like France isn't going to have a better opportunity than that. I get it's a bit tough. Literally all you have to do is loft it. I'm not saying it's a shot that I would make because I know I wouldn't. I would hit it so far that I would break the corner flag probably if I could even get it that far. But for these players, you have to do better than that. I mean, come on now. This is the World Cup semifinals, and the best chance that you get on the game, you just try to, hit the ball so hard that it goes through the goalkeeper. Like, are we serious right now? That is what you can muster up, right? You had good opportunities. You had good free kick opportunities, and you didn't even, get one on target with it, right? And yeah, I don't want to be, super critical of Mbappe because at the very least, it felt like he was trying in this. And I know that that's kind of like, oh my gosh, it was that bad. Yeah, it was. Then I'm having to give credit for trying because at some points it looked like, oh, they're just giving up. Like for the last 7 minutes of this, players stopped pressing, mainly Mbappe. But, it was staggering. It was shocking the dominance that was on display by this Spanish team. because, I mean, let's face it, La Roja are dominating here. I mean, this was so much in favor of Spain, right? Expected goals, 0.3 for France. Total shots, they were tied. What that tells me personally is that the shots that Spain were allowing France to take, they were nudging, they were being physical, they were being not dirty, but they were, they were giving them they were giving them the business, right? They were making it difficult for any high quality look to be available and become present. Their crosses that France was just spamming into the box, that didn't work, right? Big chances, they had zero. You have 10 shots and you get zero chances. I mean, I guess technically, France was better because they didn't miss a big chance, but you didn't have a massive, massive, massive moment other than that 40-yard kick, which if you missed that off target, I would be more accepting of that. But the fact that you hit the goalkeeper with it, can't get behind it. I can't. And when I thought going into this game was if Spain get the first, that's going to be tough. If Spain get the second, GG's. Because Spain is a team that is built to do what Argentina is trying to do now, which is get the first and hold on to the lead, right? Argentina is not executing that perfectly. Spain is, right? This Spain team has allowed one goal this entire World Cup. When you think of the players that this team has gone against, right? They've gone against Portugal, right? The team who I picked to win it all. Belgium, right? A team that just decimated the United States and is on a good run of form. Right? De Ketelaere, Lukaku's been a super sub. They get one. Austria, get out of here. Uruguay, sit down. Kylian Mbappé, best World Cup player ever. See ya, deuces. This team has been dominating. And I think it's crazy to think about how dominant this Spanish team is. And the reason in which this game went this way that it did, I think was partly because of the fact that they scored early. And that completely plays into the hands of Spain, where they love to do the infuriating, quote-unquote, boring style of play that is just, we're going to pass it all around and get, everybody a good look. They play very egalitarian. You don't really have, quote-unquote, their dog out there, right? And I think that this game, really lets me know what I've kind of already known, but have been a little bit too afraid, to say about it, is that I need to give a bit more credit to these individual players because, yeah, Ruiz was phenomenal. Rodri, the quality there is insane. I thought goalkeeping was an issue. Yeah, outside of one play, Unai Simon did fantastic in goal, right? Baena the only one who I thought, he wasn't that great. But, other than that, Olmo, I knew he was good, but he played great. Obviously, come on. Look at what I'm wearing. Obviously, I'm going to take any chance possible to be like, Lamine Yamal's, he's goated, right? But even Mikel Oyarzabal, he was fantastic in this game too. He converted his penalty and he was, flying around doing all the nifty, cool stuff. This was a dominant performance from Spain. And, there's a lot of questions to be answered for France. Where do you go from here? What do you do? Because this was supposed to be your run. This was supposed to be, the time when you really get back on track, right? This Spanish team has, beat you twice before, but we're going to show that that's a bit of hogwash, and that was a bit of luck. Not anymore. That one Joel Embiid quote, it's not a rivalry if they keep kicking our... I'll let you interpret what that final word is. But it's not a rivalry if they keep winning. This isn't a rivalry anymore. This is Spanish domination. And, I'm very, very intrigued to see who comes out of the England or Argentina game. I personally think that it will be Argentina, but I would not be surprised if it's England just because, Argentina hasn't really put on a fantastic display here. But we have finished the end of this video. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe, because it's absolutely crucial to the channel. And once you do so, right, get notifications every single time I post. We're going to be having content coming out later tonight. We're going to have content coming out later tomorrow even, right? So make sure to go ahead once again and and subscribe. But this has been The Scoop with Coop, and until next time, so long, everybody.